The Milky Way nebula starts to form. Galaxies may form from accumulation of light particles or from the collision of two or more galaxies. The first star in the Milky Way galaxy forms. Stars may form from the accumulation of matter or from the collisions of two or more large bodies. As less collisions occur over time, most smaller objects are absorbed by the larger star and planets. Stars and planets may have centers of densely packed, unmoving light particles. Atoms may form in the less dense space near the surface of planets and stars where there are less collisions. Living objects in the Milky Way galaxy reach another star using a ship, the first globular cluster of 100,000 stars in the Milky Way galaxy. The star-Earth orbits forms. Planets form around our star from many collisions. Like the star, they are red-hot with liquid rock and metals on the surface. Lighter atoms move to the surface of the planets. Larger planets are surrounded by gas. As the number of collisions decreases and smaller objects are absorbed by the star and planets, the average temperature of the star system is lowered. As the temperature of the planets and moons decreases, water and other molecules condense at the surface. The moon of Earth is captured. Planet Earth cools. Molten liquid rock turns into a solid crust. Water condenses and falls to the surface, filling the lowest parts of the land to make the first Earth oceans, lakes, and rivers. Start of the Precambrian, the Hadean Eon. Larger molecules form on Earth, like amino acids, phosphates, and sugars, the components of living objects. These molecules are made in the oceans, fresh water, and atmosphere of Earth and other planets by lightning, from light particles with high frequency from the sun and around ocean floor volcanoes. The initial building blocks of living objects are easily formed, but assembling them into longer chain molecules or polymers is more difficult. Amino acids link up to form polymers called proteins. Simple fatty acids plus alcohols link up to form lipids, oils, and fats. Simple sugars like glucose and sucrose link together to form complex carbohydrates and starches. And finally, the nucleotide bases plus phosphates and sugars link up to form nucleic acids, the genetic code of organisms known as RNA and DNA. Possibly all proteins, carbohydrates, and lipids are strictly the products of living objects. Nucleic acids form on Earth. Ribonucleic acid, RNA, may be the first nucleic acid to form. One of these RNA molecules may be the ancestor of all of life on Earth. The first proteins on Earth. Transfer RNA molecules evolve, tRNA, and link amino acids into proteins using other RNA molecules, messenger or mRNA, as a template. This protein assembly system is the main system responsible for all the proteins on Earth. Part of each tRNA molecule bonds with a specific amino acid, and another part of the tRNA molecule bonds with an opposite matching 3-nucleotide sequence on an mRNA molecule. A protein can copy RNA. This protein is called an RNA polymerase. For the first time, a nucleic acid functions both as a template for building proteins with the help of tRNA molecules and also as a template for building other nucleic acid molecules. Eventually, an mRNA that codes for the necessary tRNA and RNA polymerase may be copied many times. The ribosome evolves. The first ribosomal RNA, rRNA. The ribosome may function as a protocell, providing a platform for more efficient protein production. A single RNA may contain all the instructions needed to make more ribosomes. All cells contain ribosomes. Ribosomes are the cellular organelles that carry out protein synthesis through a process called translation. These molecular machines are responsible for accurately translating the linear genetic code on the messenger RNA, mRNA, into a linear sequence of amino acids to produce a protein. The first deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA molecule. A protein evolves that allows the assembly of DNA from RNA, a ribonucleotide reductase. This protein changes ribonucleotides into deoxyribonucleotides, which allows the first DNA molecule on Earth to be assembled. A protein can copy DNA molecules, a DNA polymerase. Transcription, a protein assembles RNA from DNA. The first cell on Earth evolves. This is the first prokaryotic cell and first bacterium. DNA is surrounded by a membrane of proteins made by ribosomes, the first cytoplasm. This cell may form in either fresh or salt water, near the sunlit water surface, or near underwater volcanoes on the ocean floor. The DNA of this cell is a template containing the code for a copying molecule, DNA polymerase, and the necessary mRNA, tRNA, and rRNA molecules needed to build the cytoplasm. For the first time, ribosomes and DNA build cell structure. DNA protected by cytoplasm is more likely to survive and be copied. This is the start of binary cell division. A protein duplicates DNA within the cell, and then the cell divides into two parts. This is also the start of passive transport. Molecules enter and exit the cytoplasm only because of a difference in concentration and represent the beginnings of the first digestive system. This cell structure forms the basis of all future cells of every living object on Earth. Cells make the first lipids on Earth: fats, oils, waxes. A phospholipid bilayer evolves around the cell, providing added protection from the external environment. All extant cells have this phospholipid bilayer. Operins evolve. Operins are sequences of DNA that allow a bacterium to produce certain proteins only when necessary. Bacteria before now can only build a constant stream of all proteins encoded in their DNA. Facilitated diffusion. Proteins in the cell membrane allow only certain molecules to enter the cell. Cellular respiration. Glycolysis evolves in the cytoplasm. Cells can make ATP, adenosine triphosphate, by converting glucose into pyruvate. This is the beginning of cellular respiration, how cells convert food into ATP and waste products. ATP is the molecule that drives most cellular work. Fermentation evolves in the cell cytoplasm. Cells can make lactic acid. A second kind of fermentation evolves in the cytoplasm. Cells, all anaerobic, can now convert pyruvate, the final product of glycolysis, into ethanol. Active transport evolves. Proteins and ATP are used to transport molecules into and out of the cytoplasm. The prokaryote flagellum evolves. Prokaryote cells now have more mobility and can make more choices about their location. Archaea, also called archaebacteria, evolve according to genetic comparison. The phylum Nanoarchaeota. Eubacteria and Archaea are the two major lines of prokaryotes. The Eubacteria hyperthermophiles evolve, the ancestor of Aquifex and Thermatoga. The Archaea phylum Crenarchaeota, the ancestor of Cephalobus. The Archaea phylum Euryarchaeota evolve, the ancestor of methanogens and halobacteria. The earliest cell responds to light. The first autotrophic cells, cells that can produce some of their own food. Autotrophs produce their own sugars, lipids, and amino acids. Photosynthesis. Bacteria use light particles to convert carbon dioxide gas and an electron donor, also called a reductant, like hydrogen sulfide, into glucose, water, and sulfur. This process of moving carbon from carbon dioxide gas to the hydrocarbon molecule glucose is called carbon fixation. This is the ancestor of photosystem 1. This system of photosynthesis does not liberate oxygen. Photosynthesis photosystem 2 evolves. Cells emit free oxygen. Bacteria use light particles to convert carbon dioxide gas and water into glucose, releasing oxygen gas in the process. This is the main system responsible for producing the oxygen now in the air of Earth. The end of the Hadean and start of the Archean eon. Filamentous multicellularity evolves in prokaryotes. Photosynthetic bacteria grow in filaments. Cells stay fastened together after cell division. Multicellularity appears to have evolved independently multiple times in the history of life on Earth. Cell differentiation evolves in filamentous prokaryotes, creating organisms with different kinds of cells. Nitrogen fixation evolves. Cells can make nitrogen compounds like ammonia from nitrogen gas in the air. Nitrogen-fixing bacteria play an important role in allowing plants to obtain nitrogen from nitrogen gas in the air. Nitrogen is needed to make proteins and nucleic acids. Aerobic cellular respiration. The first aerobic or oxygenic cell. These cells use oxygen to convert glucose into carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. The oldest physical evidence for life, the ratio of carbon-13 to carbon-12 in grains of ancient apatite, which are calcium phosphate minerals. Life uses the lighter carbon-12 isotope, and so the ratio of carbon-12 to carbon-13 is different from a non-living source, such as calcium carbonate or limestone. The oldest sediment, the banded iron formation, begins. Banded iron formation is sedimentary rock that spans from 3.8 to 1.8 billion years ago, made of iron-rich silicates like silicon dioxide with alternating layers of black-colored reduced or ferrous iron and red-colored oxidized or ferric iron. These alternating layers represent a seasonal cycle where the quantity of free oxygen in the ocean rises and falls, possibly linked to photosynthetic organisms. The atmosphere of Earth still has only small amounts of oxygen at this time. The oldest fossil evidence of life, stromatolites. The oldest fossils of an organism. The organism is similar to cyanobacteria and is found in the 3,500 million year old chert, sedimentary rock made of silica, in Australia and South Africa. 2.8 billion years will pass before the first animal evolves. The earliest fossils of coccoid, spherical bacteria. Prokaryote reproduction by budding. The earliest acrotarch fossils, unicellular microfossils with uncertain affinity. These acrotarchs are also the earliest possible eukaryote fossils. The Eubacteria phylum Firmicutes evolves. gram-positive bacteria, the cause of botulism, tetanus, and anthrax. The first endospores evolve in Firmicutes. An endospore is a tough, reduced, dry form of a bacterium triggered by a lack of nutrients that protects the bacterium and allows it to be revived after long periods of time. The eubacteria phylum Proteobacteria evolves. Includes Rickettsia, the ancestor of all mitochondria, gonorrhea, salmonella, and Escherichia coli, or E. coli. Gender and sex conjugation evolve in Escherichia coli bacteria. Conjugation is the exchange of DNA plasmids by a donor male bacterium through a pelus to a recipient female bacterium. In addition to pili and conjugation, proteins that can cut DNA and other proteins that can connect two strands of DNA evolve. The first virus evolves. These cells depend on the DNA duplicating and protein production systems of other cells to reproduce themselves. The first viruses may be made from bacteria or may be bacteria initially. The eubacteria phylum Planktomycetes, also known as Planktobacteria, evolves. The eubacteria phylum Actinobacteria evolves, the source of streptomycin and the cause of tuberculosis and leprosy. The eubacteria phylum Spirochetes evolves, the cause of syphilis and Lyme disease. The eubacteria phylum Bacteroidetes evolves. The eubacteria phylum Chlamydia evolves. The eubacteria phylum Chlorobi evolves, green sulfur bacteria. The eubacteria phylum Verrucomicrobia evolves. Endo and exocytosis evolve. Cells can now eat other cells. Endocytosis is a process of cellular ingestion by which the plasma membrane folds inward to bring substances into the cell. Exocytosis is a process of cellular secretion or excretion in which substances contained in vesicles are released from the cell by fusion of the vesicle membrane with the outer cell membrane. The eukaryotic cell evolves, the first cell with a nucleus, the first protist. The nucleus may develop from the infolding of plasma membrane. There are some differences between prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. In prokaryotic cells, the DNA is concentrated in a region that is not membrane enclosed, called the nucleoid, while in eukaryotic cells, most of the DNA is contained in a nucleus that is bounded by a double membrane. Eukaryotic cells are generally much larger than prokaryotic cells. Typical bacteria are between 1.5 micrometers in diameter, while eukaryotic cells are typically 10 to 100 micrometers in diameter. Unlike prokaryotic cells, eukaryotic cells have a cytoskeleton. The cytoskeleton enables eukaryotic cells to change their shape and to surround and engulf other cells. Eukaryotic cells also have internal structures that prokaryotic cells lack, such as mitochondria and plastids. DNA in prokaryotic cells is usually in the form of a single circular chromosome, while DNA in the nucleus of eukaryotes contains linear chromosomes. Like prokaryotes, this cell is probably haploid, has a single unique DNA. Most eukaryotes are diploid, having two sets of DNA. All protists, fungi, animals, and plant cells descend from this common eukaryotic cell. The earliest molecular fossil evidence of eukaryotes, styrane molecules. Styranes are formed by styrols, molecules made by mitochondria. The endoplasmic reticulum evolves in a eukaryotic cell. The endoplasmic reticulum is a membrane system that extends from the nucleus, important in the synthesis of proteins and lipids. The cytoskeleton forms in the eukaryote cytoplasm. The eukaryote flagellum and cilia evolve. The eukaryote flagellum and cilia are structurally the same but are very different from the prokaryote flagellum. The eukaryote flagellum is composed of a characteristic 9+2 arrangement of microtubules. Unlike the prokaryote flagella that rotate, the flagella and cilia of eukaryotic cells undulate in a wave-like motion to propel the cell. The sperm cells of algae, animals, and some plants have flagella. The circular chromosome in the eukaryote nucleus changes into linear chromosomes, although the eukaryotic cell may have descended from a prokaryote that already had linear DNA. Histones evolve. Histones are proteins found in all eukaryotic cell nuclei that package and order a single continuous DNA molecule into structural units called nucleosomes. The eukaryote cell evolves two intermediate stages between cell division and DNA synthesis. In prokaryotes, DNA synthesis takes place uninterrupted between cell divisions, but eukaryotes duplicate their DNA exactly once during a discrete period between cell divisions. The eukaryote Golgi apparatus evolves. The Golgi apparatus packages proteins and lipids into vesicles for delivery to targeted destinations. The nucleolus evolves. The nucleolus is a sphere in the nucleus that makes ribosomal RNA. Mitosis evolves in eukaryote cells. Mitosis is the process in eukaryotic cell division in which the duplicated chromosomes are separated and the nucleus divides, resulting in two new nuclei, each of which contains an identical copy of the parental chromosomes. Mitosis is usually immediately followed by cytokinesis, the division of the cytoplasm. Eukaryote sex evolves. This is the first diploid cell and the first zygote. Because of sex, two cells with different DNA can mix, providing more genetic variety. Having two chromosome sets also provides a backup copy of important genes. All sexual species alternate between haploid and diploid. There are three main different types of sexual life cycles: haplontic, haplodiplontic, and diplontic. This begins the haplontic life cycle. In the entire life cycle, mitosis only occurs in the haploid phase. The only diploid cell is the zygote. This fusion of two haploid cells results in the first diploid single-celled organism, which may then immediately divide back to two haploid cells. Initially, sex may be the fusion of two indistinguishable cells, isogamy, with gender, anisogamy, only evolving later, although possibly eukaryote cell fusion and gender is directly descended from prokaryote conjugation. Meiosis evolves. One-step meiosis, a single cell division of a diploid cell into two haploid cells. Meiosis, which looks similar to mitosis, is the process of cell division in sexually reproducing organisms that reduces the number of chromosomes in reproductive cells from diploid to haploid, leading to the production of gametes in animals and spores in plants. Without the reduction back to haploid, genomes would double in size with every generation. Gender in eukaryotes evolves. Anisogamy, sex, cell and nucleus fusion between two cells that are different in size or shape. Oogamy, a form of anisogamy, evolves in protists, sex between a flagellated gamete and an unflagellated gamete. Two-step meiosis, diploid DNA copies and then the cell divides twice into four haploid cells. Most protists divide by two-step meiosis, and one-step meiosis is rare. The eubacteria phylum Deinococcus thermus evolves, includes Thermus aquaticus, used in PCR, and Deinococcus radiodurans, which can survive long exposure to radiation. The eubacteria phylum Cyanobacteria evolves. Cyanobacteria are the only prokaryotes with oxygen-producing photosynthesis and are the ancestor of all eukaryote plastids, for example chloroplasts. The eubacteria phylum Chloroflexi evolves, green non-sulfur bacteria. The end of the Archean and start of the Proterozoic eon. The Proterozoic spans from 2,500 to 542 million years ago and represents 42% of Earth's history. Bacteria live on land. Start of a 200 million year ice age. The oldest red beds, iron oxide formed on land, began here and are also evidence of more free oxygen in the air of Earth. A parasitic bacterium closely related to Rickettsia prowazekii, an aerobic proteobacteria, is engulfed by an early eukaryotic cell. Over time, a symbiotic relationship evolves within the eukaryotic cell, an endosymbiosis, where the Rickettsia becomes mitochondria. Mitochondria are membrane-bound organelles found in the cytoplasm of almost all eukaryotic cells and are where cellular respiration occurs, producing most of the ATP in a eukaryotic cell. The earliest large filamentous fossil, Grippania. Grippania spiralis is about 10 centimeters long and is thought to be either a green alga or large cyanobacterium. If eukaryote, Grippania would be the earliest eukaryote fossil. The end of the banded iron formation. The first homeobox genes evolve. These genes regulate the building of major body parts in algae, plants, fungi, and animals. For example, when a homeobox gene responsible for growing a mouse eye is added to the cell of a fruit fly embryo that is destined to be a leg, an extra fruit fly eye is built on the leg. The ancestor of all living eukaryotes divides into bicont and unicont descendants. Biconts lead to all chromalveolates, excavates, rhizaria, and plants. Uniconts lead to all amoebozoa, animals, and fungi. The protist phylum Amoebozoa evolves. Amoebas, slime molds. Feeding using pseudopods evolves. Colonialism, where cells form a colony, evolves for the first time in eukaryotes. The first plastids evolve. Cyanobacteria form plastids through endosymbiosis within a eukaryotic cell. Like mitochondria, these organelles copy themselves and are not made by the cell DNA. Plastids provide the eukaryotic cell with food from photosynthesis and gain protection by living within the cell. The first plant, ancestor of all green and red algae and land plants. This begins the plant kingdom. The first plant is probably unicellular, similar to the glaucophytes. Protists Opistheconts, ancestor of fungi, choanoflagellates, and animals. The earliest extant plant, Glaucophyta. Glaucophytes are unicellular algae found in fresh water. The plant phylum Chlorophyta evolves. Green algae, ancestor of volvox, sea lettuce, spirogyra, and stoneworts. The first land plants most likely evolve from green algae. The plant phylum Rhodophyta evolves. Red algae. The protists excavates, includes parabasalids and diplomonads like Giardia. Filamentous multicellularity in eukaryotes evolves. In this organism, unlike single-cell eukaryotes, cells stay fastened together after cell division. Multicellularity seems to have arisen multiple times independently in eukaryotes. Differentiation in a multicellular eukaryote evolves. In addition to gamete or spore cells, there are somatic cells. Unlike gamete cells, somatic cells are asexual, non-fusing. This is the start of death by aging. Cell differentiation is how cells in a multicellular organism become specialized to perform specific functions in a variety of tissues and organs. Mitosis of diploid cells evolves. The haplodiplontic life cycle evolves. Mitosis occurs in both haploid and diploid life stages. A captured red alga through endosymbiosis becomes a plastid in the ancestor of all chromalveolates. This is a secondary plastid endosymbiosis where an algae cell is captured instead of a cyanobacterium. The protists chromalveolates evolve. Ancestor of the chromista, cryptophytes, haptophytes, and straminopoles, and alveolates. The earliest certain eukaryote fossils and eukaryote filamentous multicellularity. Rhodophyta, red algae fossils. The first fungi. This begins the fungi kingdom. Like animals, fungi are heterotrophic, unable to build structural materials by photosynthesis, and so must feed on other living things. Fungi live on organic material and are therefore generally parasitic, live or feed on another organism to the detriment of the host organism, or are saprophytic, live on dead or decaying organic matter. Some types of fungi, however, form symbioses with plants. The protists alveolates, ancestor of all ciliates, apicomplexans, and dinoflagellates. The oldest extant fungi phylum, Microsporidia, evolves. Microsporidia are obligate, survive only as intracellular parasites of eukaryotes. The protist phylum Dinoflagellata evolves. The dinoflagellates. The excavates Discicristates, the ancestor of protists which have mitochondria with discoidal-shaped cristae, includes euglenids, leishmanias, trympanosomes, and acracid slime molds. A eukaryote eye evolves, the first three-dimensional response to light. The earliest eye probably evolves from a plastid. The first proto-eye is a light-sensitive area in a unicellular eukaryote. Eukaryotes are the first organisms to evolve the ability to follow light direction in 3 dimensions in open water. The protists, straminopoles, also called heteroconts, evolve. Ancestor of all brown algae, golden algae, diatoms, and oomycota. The protists Mesomycetozoa evolve, also called drips. The protist phylum Oomycota evolves, ancestor of the oomycetes, water molds. The protists Rhizaria evolve, ancestor of all radiolaria, foraminifera, and cercozoa. The fungi Zygomycota evolves, ancestor of the bread molds and pin molds. The protist phylum Ciliophora evolves, the ciliates, ancestor of the paramecium. The protist phylum Apicomplexa evolves, includes malaria and toxoplasmosis. The protists choanoflagellates evolve. Choanoflagellates are the closest relatives to the animals and may be direct ancestors of sponges. There are about 140 species of choanoflagellates. Some are free-swimming, propelling themselves with a flagellum. Others are attached by a stalk, sometimes with several together in a colony. Multicellularity evolves in a free-moving protist. This allows larger free-moving organisms to evolve. This multicellularity is thought to be independently evolved and not related to the earlier filamentous multicellularity of prokaryotes like cyanobacteria and eukaryotes like algae. The diplontic life cycle evolves. This organism is predominantly diploid. Mitosis in the haploid phase does not occur. All animals are diplontic and descend from this multicellular organism. The first animal in the first metazoan, the sponge, evolves. This begins the animal kingdom in the phylum Porifera, the sponges. There are only 3 major kinds of metazoans: sponges, cnidarians, and bilaterians. The word porifera means pore-bearing in Latin, and water continuously flows through the pores in sponges. Metazoans are multicellular and have differentiation. Their cells perform different functions. Sponges have cells that form a body wall, cells that secrete the skeleton, contractile cells, cells that digest food, and other kinds of cell types. All sponge shells are totipotent and so are capable of regrowing a new sponge. Sponges have 2 layers, each a single cell thick. The outer surface is called the pinacoderm and is made of cells called pinacocytes. On the inner surface is the choanoderm, which is made of flagellated cells called choanocytes. Between these 2 thin cellular sheets is the jelly-like mesohyle. Some sponges can live for over 1,000 years. The male gonad, testis, or testicle evolves in a sponge. In sponges, sperm are contained in spermatic cysts, which are choanocyte chambers transformed by the formation of sperm, spermatogenesis, but ova are distributed throughout the mesohyle, or middle layer. Start of the 60 million year Varanger Ice Age. Cells that group as tissues that are arranged in layers evolve in metazoans. Unlike the porifera, in the Placozoa and all later metazoans, cells group as tissues. The metazoa phylum Placozoa evolves. Placozoans look like amoebas but are multicellular. The only known species is Trichoplax adherens. Trichoplax lives in the sea and feeds on single-celled organisms, mostly algae. There are only 4 cell types in Trichoplax compared to the more than 200 cell types in humans. Trichoplax has 2 main cell layers like a cnidarian or ctenophore. Between these 2 layers are a few contractile cells that are similar to muscle cells, however placozoans have no muscle or nerve cells. The fungi Chytridiomycota evolves, includes all chytridiomycetes. The chytrids are primitive fungi and are mostly saprobic, feed on dead species, decomposing chitin and keratin. Many chytrids are aquatic, mostly found in freshwater. The first nerve cell or neuron and nervous system evolves in the ancestor of the ctenophores and cnidarians. This leads to the first ganglion and brain. This is the earliest touch and sound detection and memory. As time continues in the evolution of the metazoans, the number of neurons increases while the size of neurons decreases, just like transistors as computers improve. Muscle cells evolve in the ancestor of the ctenophores and cnidarians. Both the earliest known muscle and nerve cells are found in ctenophores and cnidarians. A closable mouth evolves in the ancestor of all ctenophores and cnidarians. The female gonad, the first ovary, evolves in the ancestor of ctenophores and cnidarians. The animal phylum Ctenophora evolves. Comb jellies. Like the cnidarians, the ctenophores are diploblastic. They have 2 embryonic germ layers, the ectoderm and the endoderm, which become the adult epidermis and gastrodermis, respectively. The middle mesenchyme, a watery gelatinous fluid, never produces the complex organs seen in triploblastic metazoa. The main body cavity of the ctenophores is also the digestive chamber, and they have a simple nerve net. The start of the Ediacaran period. The animal phylum Cnidaria evolves, the ancestor of sea anemones, sea pens, corals, and jellyfish. Cnidaria also evolved the earliest animal eye. Cnidaria are primarily radially symmetrical animals with tentacles, have a single body cavity with only one opening to take in food and to release wastes, and have specialized stinging cells. Cnidarians have 2 alternate body plans, the polyp and the medusa. A sea anemone is an example of a polyp, fixed to the ground with mouth on top. A coral is a polyp that secretes a skeleton which it lives inside of. The medusa form is upside down compared to the polyp form and is free swimming. A jellyfish has a typical medusa form. The start of the Ediacaran soft-bodied invertebrate fossils. The sudden appearance of Ediacaran fossils may relate to the accumulation of free oxygen in the atmosphere and sea, which may permit an oxidative metabolism. Because the Ediacaran animals are soft-bodied, they are infrequently preserved. The animals bilaterians evolve. Metazoans with 2-sided symmetry. This is the first tripoblastic animal, an animal with a 3rd embryonic layer, the mesoderm. This is also the earliest animal brain. In most bilaterians, food enters in one end, the mouth, and waste exits at the opposite end, the anus. There is an advantage for sense organs like light, sound, touch, smell, and taste detection to be located on the head near the mouth to help with getting food. The earliest brain, ganglion, and memory develop in a bilaterian worm. This begins the animal subkingdom Bilateria. The earliest extant bilaterian, Acelomorpha, ancestor of Acela flatworms and Nemerta dermatita. The Acelomorpha lack a digestive tract, anus, and coelom. Flatworms have no lungs or gills and breathe through their skin. With no circulating blood, their branched gut presumably transports nutrients to all parts of their body. An intestine evolves in a bilaterian. Since the gut of this organism has no anus, undigested food must be regurgitated through the mouth. A cylindrical gut, anus, and throughput of food evolves in a bilaterian, found in all bilaterians except Acelomorpha and Platyhelminthes. The genital pore, vagina, and uterus evolve in a bilaterian. The penis evolves in a bilaterian. The end of the Varanger Ice Age. The coelom evolves in a bilaterian. The coelom is a fluid-filled cavity that forms within the mesoderm and exists between the gut and body wall in most tripoblastic animals. The advantage of a coelom is that it allows the body wall and gut wall to act independently, and also that other organ systems can be developed in the fluid-filled space. In addition, the fluid in the cavity can act as a deformable skeleton. The first circulatory system evolves. Blood vessels and blood evolve in a bilaterian. The first blood cells. Cnidarians and flatworms are at most 2 sheets of tissue thick and so allow gas exchange and nutrient distribution by diffusion. But larger animals with thicker tissues require a circulatory system to distribute materials. The circulatory system transports molecules like gases, foods, and waste to and from individual cells. The bilaterians' protostomes evolve, the ancestor of all ecdysozoa and Lophotrachozoa. The difference between protostomes and deuterostomes arises during embryonic development. In protostomes, the first indentation of the gastrula, an early stage of the embryo, develops into the mouth, and the second indentation develops into the anus. The reverse is true for the deuterostomes. The bilaterians' deuterostomes evolve, the ancestor of all echinoderms, hemichordates, and chordates. The first shell, or skeleton, evolves. The first known shell belongs to a group of ciliates called tintinids. Skeletons evolve independently in different groups of organisms. The bilaterians' Chaetognatha evolve. Arrowworms. The earliest teeth evolve. Animals start to eat other animals. The evolution of teeth and animal predation starts an arms race that rapidly transforms ecosystems around the Earth. Teeth and shells evolve as advantages to survival. The deuterostome phylum Hemichordata evolves, the hemichordates, the ancestor of terebranchs and acornworms. Adult terebranchs are sessile, faceting to solid structures, but the younger or larval form is free-swimming and is thought to have evolved into tunicates and then the first fish. The deuterostome phylum Chordata evolves. Chordates are a very large group that includes all tunicates, fishes, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds. Chordates get their name from the notochord, the cartilage rod that runs along the back of the animal, in the embryo, if not in the adult. The ancestor of all chordates evolves upside down. Unlike earlier invertebrates who have a ventral nerve cord near the belly and a dorsal heart near the back, this ancestor and all later vertebrates have a dorsal nerve cord and a ventral heart. The earliest extant chordate tunicates evolve, also called sea squirts. The earliest animal shell or skeleton evolves. This is the earliest evidence of animals eating other animals, predation. This begins the appearance of small shelly fossils and deep burrows correlated with a decline in stromatolites, possibly from feeding. The earliest animal shells are made by tiny organisms with simple tube-like skeletons, such as Claudina and cynotubulites, in addition to sponge skeleton fossils. The shell of Claudina is made of calcium carbonate and possibly made by some kind of worm. Predatory boreholes have been found in Claudina shells. This is the oldest evidence of predation known. The protostomes Ecdysozoa evolve. Ecdysozoa are animals that molt, lose their outer skin as they grow. This is the ancestor of roundworms and arthropods, which includes insects and crustaceans, also known as shellfish. The protostomes Lophotrachozoa evolve. Ancestor of rotifers, phoronids, brachiopods, entoprocs, bryozoans, platyhelminthes, gastrotrix, nemertia, mollusks, and annelids. The first fish evolves. The earliest extant fish, the chordates lancelets, also called Amphioxus. This is also the first liver and kidney. The ecdysozoa Aschelminthes evolves, the ancestor of the worms nematodes and priapulids. The Lophotrachozoa phylum Brachiopoda evolves, the brachiopods. The brachiopods are marine invertebrates that have bivalve dorsal and ventral shells enclosing a pair of tentacled, arm-like structures that are used to sweep minute food particles into their mouth. Segmentation evolves. Body parts are repeated serially. The end of the Precambrian. The end of the Proterozoic and start of the Phanerozoic eon. The end of the Neoproterozoic and start of the Paleozoic era, and the end of the Ediacaran and start of the Cambrian period. The Cambrian radiation, or Cambrian explosion, the rapid diversification of multicellular animals between 542 and 530 million years ago that results in the appearance of many between 20 and 35 of the major phyla of animals. An increase of animals with shells. The Cambrian metazoan radiation may be the result of a major increase in atmospheric oxygen and animal predation. The Lophotrachozoa phylum Platyhelminthes evolves. Flatworms. The protist phylum Radiolaria. Ocean protists, many with silica shells. The protist phylum Foraminifera evolves. Unicellular protists with fine pseudopods that extend from a cytoplasm body encased within a calcium carbonate shell. The Lophotrachozoa phylum Nemertia evolves. Ribbon worms. The Ecdysozoa phylum Tardigrada evolves. Tardigrades. The Ecdysozoa phylum Onychophora evolves. Onychophrans are a transition between worms and arthropods. They have segmented worm-like bodies, but they also have jointed appendages, antennae, and shed their cuticle like arthropods do. The The first heart evolves in bilaterians. Muscles for pumping blood and for maintaining adequate blood pressure can be divided into three groups: contractile blood vessels, found in nemerteans and annelids, osteate hearts, found in arthropods, and chambered hearts, found in mollusks and vertebrates. The Lophotrachozoa phylum Mollusca evolves. Mollusks. The phylum Mollusca is the second largest animal phylum after the arthropods and is divided into 7 classes, 3 of which, Gastropoda, snails, Bivalvia, clams and mussels, and Cephalopoda, squids and octopuses, are of major importance. The Lophotrachozoa phylum Annelida evolves. Segmented worms. Annelids are various worms or worm-like animals characterized by an elongated cylindrical segmented body and includes the earthworm and leech. The Ecdysozoa phylum Arthropoda evolves. The arthropods. Arthropods can be compared to a segmented worm encased in a rigid exoskeleton. The phylum Arthropoda is the largest phylum in the animal kingdom. Arthropods include the trilobites, the crustaceans, shrimps, crabs, and lobsters, the myriapoda, centipedes and millipedes, the chelicerata, arachnids and horseshoe crabs, and the insects. All arthropods have a segmented body covered by an exoskeleton containing chitin, which serves as both armor and as a surface for muscle attachment. The chordata vertebrates evolve. This subphylum Vertebrata contains most fishes and all amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds. The characteristic features of the Vertebrata are a vertebral column or backbone and a cranium, which protect the central nervous system, brain and spinal cord, and major sense organs. This earliest vertebrate skeleton is made completely of cartilage. The vertebrates' jawless fishes evolve. Agnatha. The earliest extant jawless fishes, the hagfishes, evolve now. The arthropods Chelicerata evolve. 8 legs, ancestor of the horseshoe crabs, sea spiders, and the arachnids, mites, spiders, and scorpions. The earliest color vision evolves in arthropods. The deuterostome phylum Echinodermata evolves. The echinoderms, the ancestor of the sea cucumbers, sea urchins, sand dollars, and starfishes. The arthropods trilobites evolve. Trilobites have a segmented body that is divided into 3 vertical lobes. There is a transition from the soft-bodied organisms to the clam-like shell organisms to the segmented calcite and chitin shells of the trilobites. The arthropods crustaceans evolve. The ancestor of all shrimps, crabs, lobsters, and barnacles. The arthropods myriapoda evolve. The ancestor of all centipedes and millipedes. The end of the Cambrian and start of the Ordovician period. The Ordovician radiation. During the Ordovician, the number of genera will quadruple. The non-vascular plants evolve. Bryophyta, the ancestor of the liverworts, hornworts, and mosses. The bryophytes are the simplest land plants and reproduce with spores. Plants live on land. The earliest fossil spores belonging to land plants. Plants conquer land before animals do, and like animals may move to land not by sea but by fresh water. The first animals live on land, the arthropods myriapoda, centipedes, and millipedes. The jawless fishes lampreys evolve. Jawed vertebrates evolve, Gnathostomata. This large group includes all jawed fishes, amphibians, reptiles, mammals, and birds. The first vertebrate teeth. The jaw evolves from parts of the gill skeleton. The jawed fishes chondrichthyes, cartilaginous fishes, ancestor of all sharks, rays, skates, and sawfishes. The earliest fungi on land, the ancestor of all terrestrial fungi, the Glomeromycota, Ascomycota, and Basidiomycota. The fungi phylum Glomeromycota evolves, arbuscular mycorrhizal fungi. The end Ordovician mass extinction. This is caused by an ice age. This is the first of 5 mass extinctions in the Phanerozoic. The end of the Ordovician and the start of the Silurian period. The vascular plants evolve, the phylum Tracheophyta. Vascular plants have a specialized conducting system consisting mostly of phloem, food-conducting tissue, and xylem, water-conducting tissue, collectively called vascular tissue. The jawed fishes, bony fishes evolve, Osteichthyes, the ancestor of the rayfin, lobefin, and lungfishes. Bony fishes have a skeleton that is at least partly ossified or made of bone. The bony fishes are the ancestor of the tetrapods who will ultimately move onto land. The earliest bony fishes are the ray-finned fishes. The first lung evolves from the swim bladder in ray-finned fishes. Some teleosts still use their swim bladder for breathing out of water. The jawed fishes, lobe-finned fishes evolve. Lobe-finned fishes have a fleshy lobe at the base of each fin. The earliest extant lobe-finned fishes, the coelacanths, evolve now. The arthropods, hexapods, arthropods with 6 legs, 3 pairs, the ancestor of all insects. The Chelicerata arachnids evolve, the ancestor of all scorpions, spiders, mites, and ticks. The lobe-finned fishes, lungfishes evolve. the end of the Silurian and start of the Devonian period. The hexapods insects evolve. The most primitive extant insects, the bristletails, evolve now. The insects silverfish. The largest fungi phylum Ascomycota evolves, the ancestor of yeasts, truffles, penicillium, and morels. The vascular plants ferns evolve, the ancestor of club mosses, ferns, and horsetails. Ferns are flowerless, seedless, vascular plants that have roots, stems, and fronds, the leaf-like part of a fern, and reproduce by spores. The cartilaginous fish's subclass Elasmobranchii evolves, the ancestor of sharks, dogfishes, skates, and rays. The green algae charophytes evolve, stoneworts. The earliest fungi lichen. A lichen is a fungus usually of the class Ascomycetes that grows symbiotically with algae and cyanobacteria, resulting in a composite organism that characteristically forms a crust-like or branching growth on rocks or tree trunks. The cartilaginous fishes Selachii evolve, the ancestor of all sharks, including great white, hammerhead, mako, tiger, and nurse sharks. The cartilaginous fishes Holocephali evolve, the ancestor of the chimeras, also called rabbitfishes or ratfishes. The first forests, the earliest large tree fossils. The first flying animal, an arthropod insect, the ancestor of all winged insects, Pterygota. The earliest extant winged insects are the Ephemeroptera, mayflies, and the Odonata, dragonflies and damselflies. Insect wings evolve only once, and all winged insects descend from the first winged insect. The development of wings may have helped early insects to escape predators and to move over larger distances to find new habitats. The first tetrapods, vertebrates with 4 feet, evolve in freshwater. These are the first vertebrate limbs, arms and legs, and fingers. This is also the first amphibian, the ancestor of caecilians, frogs, toads, and salamanders. The late Devonian mass extinction, caused by an ice age. The first vertebrates live on land, an amphibian. The second largest fungi phylum Basidiomycota evolves, the ancestor of many mushrooms. Button, chanterelle, crimini, inaki, fly agaric, oyster, porcino, portabella, psilocybe, puffball, shiitake, wood ear, rusts, and club fungi. The Neoptera, folding wing insects, evolve. A mechanism to fold the wings against the body after landing has a selective advantage by making the wings less conspicuous, awkward, and susceptible to breakage. All higher orders of insects evolve from the Neoptera. The end of the Devonian and start of the Carboniferous period. The first seed plant evolves, the ancestor of all seed plants. The earliest fossil seed is from a seed fern, pteridosperm. Fossils indicate that the first seed evolves from an enclosing ring of vegetative lobes that fuse together. Hearing in amphibians adapts to sounds transmitted through the air. This is the beginning of vertebrates making vocal sounds. The ray-finned fishes, sturgeons, and paddlefish evolve. The Neoptera dictyoptera evolve, the ancestor of cockroaches, termites, and mantises. The first hard-shell egg. The tetrapods amniota evolve, the ancestor of all reptiles, mammals, and birds, and the first hard-shell egg. The hard-shell egg is waterproof. This is the start of vertebrate internal fertilization because on land the egg cannot be fertilized as most fishes and amphibians do by a male swimming near the eggs and spraying them with sperm. Amniote males and females must copulate so that the sperm can reach the eggs inside the female. All living amniotes lay hard-shelled eggs except most mammals and some snakes and lizards where egg-laying has been replaced by live birth. The eggshell of amniotes may be flexible, like the eggs of many lizards, or mineralized and hard, like the eggs of birds. The amniota divide into the Sauropsida and the Synapsida. The Sauropsids have 2 major lineages, the Parareptilia, turtles, and the Eureptilia, dinosaurs, crocodiles, and birds. The Synapsids also have 2 major lineages, the Pelycosaurs, which are sail-backed amniotes, and the Therapsids, which are mammal-like amniotes. The Synapsids Pelycosauria evolve, the ancestor of Edaphosaurus and Dimetrodon. The earliest extant amphibians, caecilians, evolve. The seed plants Gymnosperms evolve. Gymnosperms are the most primitive extant seed plants and ancestor of all cycads, ginkgos, and the conifers. The most primitive extant gymnosperms, the cycads, evolve now. Gymnosperm is Greek for naked seed. A gymnosperm reproduces by a seed that is in direct contact with the environment, as opposed to an angiosperm whose seeds are enclosed by fruits. The Neoptera orthoptera evolve, the ancestor of crickets, grasshoppers, locusts, and walking sticks. The Sauropsids reptilia evolve, the reptiles, the ancestor of all turtles, crocodiles, pterosaurs, dinosaurs, and birds. Reptiles are a group of air-breathing amniotes with internal fertilization and scales covering part or all of their body. All reptiles are cold-blooded except for birds and possibly some or all pterosaurs and dinosaurs. The gymnosperms Pinophyta evolve. The ancestor of the conifers includes pine, fir, spruce, redwood, cedar, juniper, hemlock, larch, yew, and cypress. The Neoptera Paraneoptera evolve. The ancestor of bark lice, true lice, thrips, and the Hemiptera. The Hemiptera have mouthparts adapted for piercing and sucking and include cicadas, aphids, and true bugs such as bedbugs and stink bugs. The Neoptera Holometabula evolve. Holometabolous insects. Insects that undergo complete metamorphosis. The ancestor of beetles, bees, true flies, and butterflies. The holometabolous insects account for nearly 85% of all insects. The holometabula are insects that have complete metamorphosis or holometabolous development. Unlike hemimetabolous insects in which the immature structures, legs, eyes, antennae, etc. must also serve the adults, holometabolous insects have a morphologically reduced larval stage and acquire a completely new body during the pupal stage. The amphibians Anura evolve. The ancestor of all frogs and toads. The Stromonopolis chrysophyta evolve. Golden algae. The end of the Carboniferous and start of the Permian period. The Holometabula coleoptera evolve. The ancestor of the beetles. Gymnosperms, ginkgos. The Holometabula hymenoptera evolve. The ancestor of all bees, ants, and wasps. The synapsid therapsids evolve. Cynodonts. The Stromonopolis phaeophyta evolve. The ancestor of all brown algae includes many seaweeds like the giant kelps. Note that brown algae are not plants but are protists. The Stromonopolis diatoms evolve. The earliest endothermic or warm-blooded and hair-growing animal, a therapsid. Endothermy is the physiological maintenance by a body of a constant temperature independent of the external environmental temperature. Hair for insulation is correlated to endothermy. Both birds and mammals are endothermic, also called warm-blooded, as opposed to other vertebrates like amphibians and crocodiles, which are ectothermic or cold-blooded and cannot internally generate heat. Endothermy allows birds and mammals to maintain a high and relatively constant body temperature even at rest during a wide range of external environmental conditions. The Holometabula diptera evolve. True flies, having a single pair of wings. The ancestor of the mosquito, gnat, fruit fly, and housefly. The largest mass extinction of history, the end Permian mass extinction. 82% of all genera are observed extinct. The end of the Paleozoic and start of the Mesozoic era, and the end of the Permian and start of the Triassic period. The supercontinent Pangaea forms. The protist phylum Haptophyta evolves. The coccolithophores. The reptiles dinosaurs evolve. Dinosaurs divide into two major lines, the Ornithischians, bird-hipped dinosaurs, and the Saurischians, lizard-hipped dinosaurs. The Saurischian dinosaurs split into two major lines, the Sauropodomorpha and the Theropoda. The sauropodomorphs are divided into prosauropods, and sauropods are mostly plant-eating and include the large, long-necked dinosaurs like Apatosaurus. The theropod dinosaurs are bipedal and carnivorous and include Allosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, and Velociraptor. All birds descend from a theropod ancestor. The synapsids mammals evolve. The first mammary gland. The ray-finned fishes, teleost fishes, evolve. Teleosts are a large group of fishes with bony skeletons, including most common fishes. The most primitive extant reptiles, the testudines, evolve. The ancestor of all turtles, tortoises, and terrapins. The reptiles tuataras evolve. The first flying vertebrate, the reptiles pterosaurs, evolve. The reptiles iguania evolve. The ancestor of iguanas, chameleons, and spiny lizards. The reptiles scleroglossa evolve. The ancestor of snakes, skinks, and geckos. The earliest extant teleosts, bony tongues, evolve. The end Triassic mass extinction. 53% of all genera are observed extinct. Many terrestrial vertebrates and large amphibians go extinct. The end of the Triassic and start of the Jurassic period. The Ornithischians Thyreophora evolve, the ancestor of the armored ankylosaurs and the plated stegosaurs. The teleosts eels and tarpons evolve. The reptiles Crocodilia evolve, the ancestor of crocodiles, alligators, and caimans. The Saurischian sauropods evolve, the ancestor of the large, long-necked dinosaurs like Apatosaurus, Brachiosaurus, and Diplodocus. The Ornithischian Ornithopoda evolve. The duck-billed dinosaurs, ancestor of the hadrosaurs. The teleosts, herrings, and anchovies evolve. The supercontinent Pangaea splits into Laurasia and Gondwana. The northern part, Laurasia, will form North America and Europe. The southern part, Gondwana, will form South America and Africa. The Holometabla Lepidoptera evolve, the ancestor of moths, butterflies, and caterpillars. The earliest extant mammals, monotremes, evolve. Monotremes are an order of primitive egg-laying mammals restricted to Australia, Tasmania, and New Guinea. The monotremes consist of only the platypus and the echidna. Monotremes are also the most primitive extant warm-blooded and hair-growing species. The teleosts carp, minnows, and piranhas evolve. The teleosts salmon, trout, and pike evolve. The amphibians, salamanders, evolve. The cartilaginous fishes, Botoidea, evolve. The ancestor of all rays, skates, and sawfishes. Stegosaurus, an armored plant-eating thyreophorine dinosaur, lives around this time. The teleosts, lightfish, and dragonfish evolve. The theropods, birds, evolve. The first feather. Fossils of theropod dinosaurs from China indicate that feathers may have originally evolved on non-flying reptiles for insulation or courting and not for flight. At least one known feathered dinosaur can probably glide, which suggests that flapping flight evolves as an extension of gliding from trees. The seed plant's angiosperms evolve, the first flowering plant. Almost all grains, beans, nuts, fruits, vegetables, herbs, and spices come from plants with flowers. Much of our clothing comes from flowering plants too. For example, cotton and linen are made from fibers of flowering plants, as are rope and burlap. Many commercial dyes and drugs also come from flowering plants. Angiosperms represent approximately 80% of all the known green plants now living. The angiosperms are vascular seed plants in which the ovule or egg is fertilized and develops into a seed in an enclosed hollow ovary. The ovary is usually enclosed in a flower, the part of the angiosperm that contains the male or female reproductive organs or both. The fruit is the ovary of a plant which encloses seeds. The end of the Jurassic and start of the Cretaceous period. The earliest extant angiosperm, Ambarella. The angiosperms Nymphaeales evolve. The water lilies. The Ornithischian ceratopsian dinosaurs evolve, the ancestor of Triceratops. The mammals marsupials evolve, the first nipple and breast. The birds Enantiornithes evolve. The angiosperms magnoliids evolve, the ancestor of nutmeg, avocado, sassafras, cinnamon, black and white pepper, camphor, bay or laurel tree, and magnolia. The angiosperms eudicots evolve, the largest lineage of flowers. Eudicots are also called tricolpates, which refers to the structure of the pollen. The two main groups of the eudicots are the rosids and the asterids. The birds Hesper ornithiformes evolve. The teleosts perch, seahorses, flying fish, pufferfish, and barracuda evolve. The teleosts cod and anglerfish evolve. The mammals Eutheria evolve, placental mammals. The Eutheria are mammals that have a placenta. The placenta is an organ that forms in the uterus to aid in the exchange of food and wastes between the blood of the mother and the fetus through an umbilical cord. Placental mammals include all living mammals except marsupials and monotremes. The placenta allows for a longer developmental period within the womb, which may give the placentals a selective advantage. The bird beak evolves. The birds Neornithes evolve, modern birds, the most recent common ancestor of all extant birds. The angiosperms monocotyledons or monocots evolve, flowering plants that have a single cotyledon or seed leaf in the embryo. Monocots are the second largest lineage of flowers after the eudicots and include lilies, palms, orchids, and grasses. The two main orders of monocots are base monocots and camelinids. The basal eudicots evolve, the ancestor of the buttercup, clematis, poppy, macadamia, lotus, and sycamore. The core eudicots evolve, the ancestor of the cactus, caper, buckwheat, rhubarb, Venus flytrap, Old World pitcher plants, beet, quinoa, spinach, and grape plants. The Eutheria Afrotheres evolve. Afrotheres originate in Africa and are the earliest extant placental mammals. The birds ratites evolve, the ancestor of the ostrich, emu, cassowary, and kiwi. The Eutheria xenarthrens evolve, the ancestor of sloths, anteaters, and armadillos. The angiosperms rosids evolve. Basal rosids include the pomegranate, clove, guava, allspice, and eucalyptus. The rosids fabales evolve, the ancestor of beans, pea, peanut, soy, and lentil. The monocots base monocots evolve, the ancestor of vanilla, orchid, asparagus, onion, garlic, agave, aloe, and lily. The monocots camelinids evolve. The ancestor of palms, coconut, corn, rice, barley, oat, wheat, rye, sugarcane, bamboo, grass, pineapple, papyrus, turmeric, banana, and ginger. The basal asterids Aracales evolve. The ancestor of the kiwi fruit, ebony, persimmon, blueberry, cranberry, Brazil nut, New World pitcher plant, and tea. The asterids Apiales evolve. The ancestor of dill, celery, cilantro, carrot, parsnip, fennel, parsley, and ivy. The asterids Asterales evolve. The ancestor of tarragon, daisy, artichoke, sunflower, lettuce, and dandelion. The rosids Malpighiales evolve. The ancestor of coca, rubber tree, cassava, poinsettia, willow, poplar, and aspen. The rosids Brassicales evolve. The ancestor of horseradish, mustard, cabbage, broccoli, radish, and papaya. The rosids Rosales evolve. The ancestor of hemp, hop, jackfruit, fig, strawberry, rose, raspberry, apple, pear, plum, cherry, peach, and almond. The asterids Gentianales evolve. The ancestor of oleander and coffee. Asterids Solanales evolve. Ancestor of bell pepper, tomato, tobacco, potato, and eggplant. The rosids Cucurbitales evolve. The ancestor of melon, cucumber, pumpkin, squash, and zucchini. The rosids Fagales evolve. The ancestor of many flowers that produce edible nuts. For example, birch, hazelnut, chestnut, beechnut, oak, walnut, pecan, and hickory. The birds Galliformes evolve. The ancestor of the chicken, turkey, pheasant, peacock, and quail. The birds Anseriformes evolve. The ancestor of ducks, geese, and swans. The Eutheria laurasiatheres evolves. The laurasiatheres are a major line of placental mammals that originate in the northern continent Laurasia. The Rocky Mountains start to form. The rosids Malvales evolve. The ancestor of okra, marshmallow, durian, cotton, balsa, and cacao. The rosids Sapindales evolve. The ancestor of the maple, lychee, mahogany, cashew, mango, pistachio, and the citrus trees, orange, lemon, and grapefruit. The ornithopods hadrosaurs evolve. The duck-billed dinosaurs. The laurasiatheres insectivora evolves. The ancestor of shrews, moles, and hedgehogs. The theropods dromaeosaurs evolve. Raptors. The marsupials New World opossums evolve. The Afrotheres aardvarks evolve. The asterids Lamiales evolve. The ancestor of many spices. Mint, basil, marjoram, oregano, rosemary, sage, savory, thyme, teak, sesame, olive, ash, lilac, and jasmine. The marsupials bandicoots and bilbies evolve. Two of the largest meat-eating dinosaurs known are common, both theropods. Tyrannosaurus rex is the top predator in North America, and Giganotosaurus is the top predator in South America. The Thyreophore and ankylosaurs evolve. The shieldback and/or club-tailed dinosaurs. The marine reptiles mosasaurs evolve. The birds Podicipediformes evolve. Grebes. The Eutheria lagomorpha evolve. The ancestor of rabbits, hares, and pikas. The Eutheria tree shrews and colugos evolve. The largest pterosaur and largest flying animal ever known, Quetzalcoatlus. The end Cretaceous mass extinction. 47% of all genera are observed extinct. Made extinct are 60% of plant species and all dinosaurs, mosasaurs, pterosaurs, plesiosaurs, and pliosaurs. A comet or meteor collides with the Earth in what is now the Yucatan Peninsula of Mexico, and huge amounts of lava erupt from India. No large animals survive on land, in the air, or in the sea. The end of the Mesozoic and start of the Cenozoic era, and the end of the Cretaceous and start of the Tertiary period. The start of the rapid diversification of mammals. The birds Gruiformes evolve. The ancestor of cranes, rails, and bustards. Marsupial moles evolve. The marsupials Tasmanian devil and numbat evolve. The marsupials Diprotodontia evolve. The ancestor of wombats, kangaroos, possums, and koalas. The Eutheria rodentia evolve. Rodents. The rodents Myomorpha evolve. The ancestor of rats, mice, gerbils, foals, lemmings, and hamsters. The primates evolve. The opposable thumb. The order Primates contains more than 300 species, including monkeys, apes, and humans. The birds Strigiformes evolve. Owls. The Laurasiatheres carnivora evolve. The ancestor of cats, dogs, bears, weasels, hyenas, seals, and walruses. The primates tarsiers evolve. The birds Apodiformes evolve. Hummingbirds and swifts. The birds Pisiformes evolve. Woodpeckers and toucans. The birds Passeriformes evolve. Perching songbirds. This order includes many common birds, for example crows, jays, sparrows, warblers, mockingbirds, wrens, robins, orioles, bluebirds, vireos, larks, swallows, and finches. More than half of all species of birds are passerines. The Afrotheres elephants evolve. The Afrotheres manatee and dugong evolve. The Laurasiatheres Sitartiodactyla evolve. The ancestor of all Artiodactyla, also called even-toed ungulates, camels, pigs, ruminants, includes deer, giraffe, cattle, sheep, and antelope, hippos, and all cetacea, whales and dolphins. Hippos are the closest living land relatives of the whales and dolphins. The Laurasiatheres Perissodactyla evolve, also called odd-toed ungulates, the ancestor of all horses, tapirs, and rhinos. The rodents beavers. The rodents dormouse, mountain beaver, squirrel, and marmot evolve. The birds Psittaciformes evolve. Parrots. Horses evolve. The first giraffes evolve. The last common ancestor between hippos with dolphins and whales. The earliest marine mammal and whale, Himaliocetus. The Laurasiatheres Chiroptera evolve, the ancestor of fruit bats and echolocating bats. The rodents Old World porcupines evolve. The Himalayan mountains start to form. The early whale Ambulocetus evolves. The birds Falconiformes evolve, the ancestor of falcons, hawks, eagles, and Old World vultures. The rodents New World porcupines, guinea pigs, agoutis, and capybaras evolve. The primates New World monkeys evolve, the ancestor of the sakis, spider, howler, and squirrel monkeys, capuchins, and tamarins. The ancestor of all extant New World monkeys may have reached the Americas from Africa by crossing the early Atlantic Ocean, perhaps on fallen trees over a chain of islands. Dogs evolve. The birds Cuculiformes evolve, the ancestor of cuckoos and roadrunners. Toothed and baleen whale lines split. Toothed whales include dolphins, sperm, and killer whales. Baleen whales include blue, humpback, and gray whales. Cats evolve. The primates true lemurs evolve. The first pigs evolve. The primates Old World monkeys evolve, the ancestor of the macaques, baboons, mandrills, proboscis, and colobus monkeys. The first deer evolves. The ancestor of all hominoids, gibbons and hominids, loses its tail. The monotreme echidna evolves. The monotreme duck-billed platypus evolves. The hominoid proconsul evolves in East Africa. The hominoids gibbons evolve in Southeast Asia. The first kangaroos evolve. The first bovids evolve, hollow-horned ruminants, oxen, antelopes, sheep, cattle, and goats. The earliest extant hominids, orangutans, evolve in Southeast Asia. The hominids gorillas evolve in Africa. The hominids chimpanzees evolve in Africa. This is the last common ancestor of chimpanzees and humans. The hominid Ardipithecus evolves, the earliest bipedal primate. The hominid Australopithecus evolves.